Super excited to announce the Law Firm Retreat Design Your Future being held this August 5th through 8th, 2026 in the Denver, Colorado area. Teaming up with Law Firm Architects, Power Strategy Group, we're going to be having an amazing opportunity for up to 15 firms to work on the business, not in the business. Find out more at powerstrategygroup.com.
Be my outside counsel that's proactive. Don't be transactional, right? Be proactive for me. Tell me, hey, Dini, when we were there last conversation, or I've looked at the profile of your company, be this, I see this, this, and this, and don't bill me for every conversation, like every email, every second you talk to me, I'm seeing my bill and I'm like, oh my God, that 2 minutes we spoke about something, you're billing me, So because it becomes a transactional relationship, and you're not going to get my business that way. You'll get it for certain things, but I won't trust you.
Welcome, everyone. We have a new exciting episode with Nandini Nair. She is a corporate lawyer, immigration compliance, fractional GC. She does a lot, and she joined AY Strauss as a partner to launch and lead their new immigration practice group. And I'm really grateful to her too, because when I was in a pinch, she came and spoke to one of my law classes about partnership tracks, and she had so much experience and advice, and I was so grateful to have met her and found her through LinkedIn. So thank you for volunteering. But Dini, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much, Ruby. I really appreciate being here. It's wonderful.
So just tell us a little bit about what you're up to, a little bit about yourself, and then we can go more to your journey of how you got there.
Sure. As you said, I'm a partner at AY Strauss. I was previously a Global General Counsel for a multinational corporation for about 3 years. And then before that, I was in practice within my own firm and another large AM 200 firm. So I've been, generally I've been an immigration attorney since, my age, maybe like 2000 or so. And, now my focus is also blending immigration with corporate work. And I do a lot of things for my immigration corporations, including, litigation, employment agreements, all of that kind of stuff. So my journey is, blending all of that together into providing service to my clients, whoever comes my way,
Well, awesome. And so you shared some of your story, your origin story with my class, and it was really powerful. So you moved to the US with a lot of uncertainty. So what was some of the hardest part of that journey, and what helped keep you going?
Well, I was 8 when I moved. So, and spoke no English. Honestly, I didn't even know my parents. Because when I was 5, my parents moved to the United States, or I should say my mother, and I was in boarding school. And I then had a really horrible time in boarding school. It was very difficult, getting beaten and all of that, so I'm like 5, 6. And so then I went to my aunt in South India, and that was even a worse experience. She wasn't exactly great either. So by then, 5 to 8, 3 years, I kind of forgot who my parents were. So then one day, this lady, my mother, comes and takes me and my brother. My brother's 6, at that point, and brings us to this new country. And we're like, where are we? And again, these are my parents, So it was extremely challenging because obviously getting reused to my parents, no understanding of language. We came here in May, so we weren't in school for that entire summer. And I don't know if people remember the late 70s and 80s, there was no babysitter. You're at home with the kid, and the TV is your babysitter. And so, my parents had to work. So we're spending, me and my brother, the whole day watching Popeye. I remember that so clearly, learning English through that. So, so I think the beginning of my childhood in so many ways created this need, I would say, to help people, or because I was felt lost, and I was scared, and I don't want anybody to kind of feel like that. So I think when I
Mhm.
into immigration, like, and it was really, I fell into it. It was just an accident. Um, you know, it made me be very good at my job. I have to say that, because I can empathize with that journey. I can empathize with being unsure. How does the systems work? I had to go to school when I was in third grade, knowing nothing, how the school systems work, figuring all of those things out. So when you come from that background, I think it helps you understand, especially when you do immigration, how somebody would take that risk, right? Of coming to a new country. Why would they take that risk? What are the things that they have to navigate? And how, in my role, could I make it a little bit easier, for them, besides doing paperwork, right? Besides that, right? It's the conversations you have with your clients and stuff like that. So um, that journey was very, very, very difficult. But I think it really shaped me wanting to do immigration, and to this day, still feeling that feeling of happiness, when I get a case approved. And I've done like thousands, right? But it's still that little tingle that comes, when you see that approval and stuff like that, because it's still that little girl who, nobody helped almost, kind of, So I'm happy to be doing that for someone.
Wow, that's so powerful. The just sort of like you remembering why you do it and what happened, your origin story, and just like how it shows up every day with your your practice. That's so powerful. I mean, you say you've already, you've accomplished a lot. You've said you've been in this practice for an undisclosed amount of years.
Yeah.
I know, it's like, really, I've been practicing that long. That long. And you're still, like, pushing yourself, but what keeps you motivated even when you feel exhausted, or it just feels like it's a tough battle to keep pushing through, the practice. And and immigration has been very challenging as well, but regardless of the practice area, what keeps you going?
um I think I'm just built almost this way. Maybe it is, again, the journey that I had, but I'm always looking to learn. I'll tell you that. Like, I'm doing litigation, I'm doing corporate work, and people would be like, "Why are you doing something outside of what you've done before?" And I said, "I find it scary as hell, like scary, but it's so nice to learn how to do, or figure. I'm not figuring it out on my client's dime, but like learning things and doing it and being good at something. And that continues to motivate me all the time. I am someone who can get bored with doing something over and over and simple. So I always want to strive to grow myself, learn things. And I also take that as something that I can add value in my service. When Ruby, like, when you have a client, they want you to be their everything, right? Whatever law, you're like,
Mhm.
okay, I just do immigration. Then they're like, well, I got this. And I've gotten questions about parking tickets. I'm like, I don't know, these things. But when I'm learning these type of things, it adds value to servicing them, that I at least have an understanding. I know how to do this. I've, know what to look for in a contract, various type of things. So those type of things um, continue to push me. I, I always like get this stuff from people saying, like, you know, why can't you just stay still? And I'm like, I'm just not that person. I want to, like, keep going until I can. Like, my sense of retirement is not about being done and like going fishing or something. My sense of retirement is probably just maybe slow down a little bit, maybe just 6 hours a day, you know. But yeah, I think being an immigrant creates this thing in you because you've been through something and you've overcome it in some sense, that you still continue to strive. You don't want to waste this opportunity. That's one of the biggest things. I am so proud of my mother for taking that chance to come here, and it was her chance, and I owe so much to her about that, and I stand on those shoulders every single day. Like, otherwise I'd be in India. I'd be, I don't know, God knows what I'd be doing. We were just lower middle class, living paycheck to paycheck. There was no money at the end of the month. I remember my parents saying and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Where would I have gone? What would have been my life? So to get this and really appreciate the American dream and the advantages I got from being in this country, I have to keep pushing myself. Like, I can't give that up. I can't toss that around aside just because I got here. There's still so
can't be complete. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just that power of that leap of faith.
This episode is sponsored by Candle AI, the legal email assistant that helps legal teams spend less time on client emails. You heard me right, spending less time on emails. Candle AI works with both Gmail and Outlook, so you don't have to learn a new tool. And then it connects with popular case management systems like Clio, Filevine, iNetSume, and more to come. It instantly shows you your case and the client details the moment you open a client email, and right inside your inbox. Then that means less context switching and time spent jumping to different tabs to figure out what you need to respond. Candle can also draft context-aware responses to client emails and makes it easy to create, edit, and manage your email templates. If you want to save time and take back control of your inbox, check out Candle AI. I highly suggest it.
I had a consult, such a sad story of an Afghan individual who hasn't seen his family for 5 years. And he showed me pictures of his kids, and it just seems like he can't get a break. But, I'm thinking about, you're sort of like the kid in the story, where the parent did something daring and it's painful, but, hoping that it pays off in the end, that eventually they'll get reunited and they'll provide a better life. And yeah, it's definitely very powerful. And I mean, all the time when I'm giving consults and I'm in the space, I'm like always thinking about the kids, like, where are the kids, who's taking care of, not like, who's babysitting, but like, is somebody thinking about their status? And how many kids are there? When are they turning 21? And, where are they?
No, I mean, I have to, like I said, I have to give it to both of my parents, but my mother's the one who really took the initiative to fill out the applications behind my father's back, borrowed money from friends for the application.
Wow.
Until she got the interview call, she didn't tell my father, because my father's like,
wow,
and stuff. So to convince my father, then to make a plan. Okay, my brother is too young to go to boarding school because he was 3. And so he went to my aunt's. My father was in the Air Force in North India. We're in South India,
Wow.
He needs to go here. And my mother's in, comes to America with $50, if that, and is sleeping on somebody's, I don't even know if she was sleeping on a bed when she first came, but at the mercy of other people and trying to figure things out and being grateful that America had rice. That will be my mother's always, she'll say that, oh, I was so glad America had rice, because she's like, what am I going to eat otherwise? So it's just, I have to appreciate all of that, those sacrifices. And so I never discount anybody's journey, like the immigrant journey. I really don't. Whatever, even if it was easier, even if it was they have plenty of money and they're coming here for school and no problem, that journey still, to step out of your comfort, which is your country, which is your neighbors, which is your home, which is everything, and say, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to come somewhere else. I don't know anything there generally. I mean, now most people know because of the internet and stuff, but you got to imagine 1970s, 1980s. Hey, there's no telephones even commonplace there at that time. To take that,
Yeah.
So
I sort of small diversion, but we've been watching the original Matlock, which was like filmed in, is it the 80s or the 90s? But
yeah, I remember.
Yeah, it's the 80s. Yeah. And I was warning my son, who's 15. I was like, before cell phones,
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and just like then when you say you're going to be somewhere, you have to be there, and you have to like contingency plans, or just anyway, the communication, or like when the international phone call or the long distance phone call was so expensive. Like I remember my grandmas in other countries and states would like barely talk to me because it was so expensive. That's why we wrote so many letters to each other.
Yes.
Um, well, well, powerful and a good reminder why we do what we do, whatever, practice area. But so from your lens as a former global GC, what are some of the biggest mistakes you've seen law firms make when they're trying to serve clients at your scale, and sort of what are you seeing in that space?
So, I was in private practice for so long before I went into this being a GC. And so it was definitely, let me tell you, a learning curve. So, and now when I'm back into private practice, I tell my clients, like, I know what you go through. And that's the thing outside counsel never seems to understand, which is you don't seem to give me business answers or business ready answers. You give me legal answers, which is fine. I get it. You have to as a lawyer, but you have to understand. Like outside counsel never understand, in my experience, how the business runs. And so you don't end up being my strategic partner. You just end up being this place that I have to go to for, just getting some information. And that's one of the biggest mistakes I will always tell outside counsels who are pitching or who have clients and want to grow that business. You have to understand the business. You have to understand I can't make the same decisions that you're telling me to make, because I'm going to have to go to the board. I have to go to the CEO. And he's like, get this deal done, somewhere, somehow. I don't care. And so you have to understand that. You have to come at me with that. You have to come at me with risk assessment, but that's fine and stuff. And lawyers will do that. But what they'll do, they'll give me 20. I'm like, dude, come on, give me what's critical. Give me the percentages. Give me so I can sit there and just go to the board or the CEO and say 1, 2, and 3. Lawyers like to write 10-page essays and bill me for those 10-page essays. When I was a GC, and I'm like, I didn't ask for 10 pages. I wanted quick, and tell me what my risk assessment. Do the risk assessment for me. So outside counsels have to think as business. They have to understand what my business is like, or factors as a business person, even though I'm the general counsel, would have to deal with to making that decision. Don't come at me with just legal jargon and just say this, this, and this. Walk me through a business case for this situation with the legal risk, with the legal solutions, etc. Learn to do that, then you get my business, is what I would tell some of my outside counsels and stuff, because that was very frustrating to me.
So you were mentioning that just sort of the difference between transactional forms to institutional strategy. What so how can a firm owner shift their model from that transactional forms to institutional strategy that a GC actually values?
Okay. So a lot of times, obviously, as a GC, you're calling counsel when there's a problem, right? That's generally when we touch or there's a situation or something like that. Be my outside counsel that's proactive. Don't be transactional, right? Be proactive for me. Tell me, hey, Dini, when we were there last conversation, or I've looked at the profile of your company, be this, I see this, this, and this, and don't bill me for every conversation. Like every email, every second you talk to me, I'm seeing my bill, and I'm like, oh my God, that 2 minutes we spoke about something, you're billing me, So because it becomes a transactional relationship, and you're not going to get my business that way. You'll get it for certain things, but I won't trust you. I won't bring you in as a strategic advisor and partner to this company if you don't be proactive, if you don't just be reactive towards my situations. Tell me what practical things I can do. Lawyers are famous for never doing that. They just like to speak in like hyperbole and like these high level things. And I'm like, okay, again, this comes back to knowing my business. You know my business. You're telling me this. How do I implement this? I would love for that to be something an outside counsel really does with us, when we were, when I was in that position. And it was not common that I would find that. So that would be something I would absolutely say, give me practical advice. Give me practical advice.
It sounds like you're just saying, like, be what you would want yourself to be, like, be practical, think it ahead, and build that relationship. And, I've talked with other lawyers who are sort of leaning into the whole subscription model in these types of service areas, because they're, the client feels more welcome to talk to them, and they're not thinking that they're going to be billed for every little conversation, and like it makes it more conducive for building a relationship. But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, we used to have one outside counsel, like at least every month. We build a standard. He billed us a certain amount, and it was like, we could use it for anything we wanted, with certain limits and stuff like that. So we weren't always concerned about picking up the phone and calling him for and saying, and sometimes you just have hypothetical questions. It's not a case yet, it's not a matter yet. What if I wanted to open up an office in Mexico? What do you think? Like I'm just wanting to talk, and stuff, but here I'm getting a bill, so we would said one type of service now, and counsel should offer these things, is that, hey, you pay that subscription, like, pay me a monthly fee, you call me whatever millions of times you want, and we'll answer, but, and maybe next month I call you zero, but you still get that same amount of money, right? So we all balance it out. I don't want to take advantage of you, but I don't want to be billed for every second either. So it's a good strategy in some sense that outside counsels or law firms or law firm owners should actually really think about.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, like in my practice, we do employment-based immigration, and it'd probably be sense to just have a regular check-in with the companies represent to say, hey, are you planning to bring in more foreign labor, or what's going on in your mind, and how can we be of help to you? What's happening, as opposed to just waiting around for them to just schedule a consultation, or have some, just sort of like being more proactive and being a part of their journey of their needs.
Well, one of the other things I actually do, and even now I do it, is almost all my clients, I follow them on LinkedIn or follow them on or social media platforms they may be available. And sometimes I'm getting news from that, like they've acquired something and they're not thinking to reach out to counsel on this, right? And I'm like, wait a second, right? Or I'm seeing something brought on a new strategic VP or something like that. And I'll, like you're invested in them then. That makes them, and I can call, the CEO and be like, oh, I heard you just hired a new VP. Where'd you do that? Oh, like, I saw it on, I want to be in touch with you about the things you're doing and stuff. And it means maybe no business for me. Who cares? They hired a VP, big deal, right? And stuff like that. But it shows the client, oh, okay, you're not just about the money. It's not just about the transaction. It's not just the exchange of this and that. You're actually, like you're following us. You like us. You're kind of like our friend or something like that. And that has gone a long way for me in my years of developing very close relationships with my clients to levels of friendship and everything else, beyond being just their attorney on something. So I think lawyers can take a few minutes to do that. You get a client, follow them, look at their website.
I like that idea. I mean, I connect with like my law students and with other colleagues, and I've been really growing my LinkedIn connections. And, I admit, I think I've said this out loud, but like I used to think it was just for people looking for a job. And I was like, I've had the same job for 16 years. Like, I'm not looking for, but I think I heard that like the last handful of years, LinkedIn's really changed, and it's almost become like the the Facebook for professionals in a way. I feel like some people, I joke, I can get a hold of them more on LinkedIn than I can in their email
Yeah.
through chatting, messaging them. But that's a good way to stay in touch. And I think also, like, depending, if a person might change their job, but their LinkedIn in theory stays the same.
Mhm.
And so, like, that's another way to stay in touch with people as well. And regardless of where they're working, but also that's a great way to stay in touch with your
Mhm.
clients. So you specialize in government investigations?
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Wow.
so I
Okay.
do, I
So
do. My
interesting.
former, yeah, my former job, and again, this is all public information, so I'm not disclosing anything. But my former job, one of the reasons I was brought in is because there was a situation, and based on some immigration issues, and they needed somebody who was very specialized in that, and so beyond the normal Department of Labor audits, that's DNS, like I've I-9 inspections, I've done plenty of all of those type of things. Now
Uh-huh.
really doing a huge government investigation with Department of Justice, Department of Homeland Security, and at the end settling for a $10 million judgment, which we thought we won and we're saying 10 million because we were looking at 25 to 30 million. So when we got it down to 10 million, we were like, oh, whew, and everybody else was like, 10 million. I'm like, you don't know what we were, like, in the sense of not that the company was doing anything, but it's just the issues that will come through. So, so for me, going through that and stuff was great. It gave me a lot of experience. And now I'm definitely using that type of experience in for other clients, and not at those kind of scales. But when you've done something like that, everything else is like, okay, I know what to do. I know, like, I know, all right, kind of thing. So it was really good. And so I'm very much, available to my clients on all levels to do those type of things and deal with the government head on and handle conversations and settlements and all of those type of things. But yeah,
So what that fascinating. What's like a tip or practical advice to those for firm owners to be proactive in, like, risk assessment, some of the things that you've learned from in working in that space?
So one of the things that I've really learned, and I would advise firm owners is, again, it's about being that proactive person. Some of the things I remember also, and I feel like this is very necessary, is especially in immigration. Everybody has these checklists, right? You should be doing this, this, and this, right?
Mhm.
You can't just go by that. You have to expand out that. Like, okay, so make sure you're not benching. Okay, got it. Make sure the salary is what you put on the LCA. But on your employment agreement, do you have arbitration clauses? What do
Mhm.
you have? Do you have it as exempt? Do you have your at will language in there? Like, you got to bring it all to the table. A lot of
Mhm.
are very like, I'm an immigration attorney, so I'm just going to be this. But
Mm.
like, but just, hey, how's your employment agreement? Does that, maybe you should check in with your labor lawyer, because we're also seeing certain things on that. Like, give me more. Give me more than the standard checklist that every other lawyer can give me, that they're getting off of ChatGPT or something else and stuff like that. Tell me more. Do a risk assessment for me. Do be proactive for me, and make sure it aligns with my business. Not what it cannot be one size fits all. It does not work that way. I deal with a lot of consulting companies who will do a lot of third party placement. That you have to understand what third party placement is. To understand, to post that LCA, they're going to go through a lot to post it at that end client. Do you understand what that means? You got to know my business. If you don't know it, then you telling me post it at the work site and da 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 in the same generic language, we're not going anywhere. It's just not helpful in that sense. So please, I tell firm people who talk to me about these things, understand the business. Don't make sure you customize it to that business. Don't give them the same checklist you're giving to every single person. Be proactive and blend all the risks that you can possibly understand and see. Maybe you're not giving the expert advice on certain things, but at least look at it and say, have you checked this? Have you checked that? Etc. Be all of that you can be to these clients. You don't have to give full legal advice, but, have them start looking at things,
Yeah. And I think that's a good point about that people are using ChatGPT or other AI tools to try to answer their questions. And that's part of this whole conversation that we've been having on a lot of our podcast episodes is like, how do we differentiate ourselves? How do we stand apart? How do we justify that we're still needed and being proactive in that space? So I think that sort of resonates with a lot of what you said, like, provide the service that you would want provided, go that extra mile, think about the future, stay connected with your clients. And we are in this like space of a lot of change, but and I think people are going to be, thinking about, do I really need this firm or do I need these services? Like figuring out what they truly need. And when you step in and create that value, then they realize that reminded and reaffirm that why they hired you in the first place. So that's is there any other lessons learned that you'd like to share to our audience?
I'm trying to think what else lessons. Again, consistency, communication with your clients. One of my biggest things I've heard from clients that I've picked up is lack of communication from lawyers, from their previous lawyers or something like that. They're human beings. Remember that, right? They want to be kept in the loop. They want to talk to you. They want, like the same way when you go to a doctor, like you don't see the doctor, aren't you going to be a little pissy? All this, same way, right? We're important in these people's lives, whether it's the company or whether it's the individual that you're representing. Try to communicate with them, be available, be responsive. That's the key thing. I tell my staff that, I've told associates that, I tell my colleagues that. Be, available as you can be. Obviously have boundaries, but be available, communicate back, be responsive. Important.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I was visiting a medical clinic the other day, like yesterday, and I heard this concept called white coat syndrome, and I was like, okay, what? And they said that people get stressed out when they're they see a doctor, and then their blood pressure, the hypertension is higher. And I was just thinking there might be something like that for like lawyer syndrome. I don't know, when they're dealing with us or have to talk with us or something like that, because it's usually when we're trying to solve something difficult that they're going through, and just being aware of building a better relationship so that they don't feel too awkward. But sometimes in cases like that, they don't, they come maybe see you every once in a while or not that often.
Are you feeling overwhelmed by all the different things you have to do to run a law firm? Well, you're not alone. So many law firm owners are in the same boat. That's where Staffy steps in. More than 90 firms, just like yours, are leaning on their bilingual virtual staff for legal, administrative, marketing, and client-facing work, plus their full HR support. I currently have 11 team members with Staffy across my own firm and Power Strategy Group, and it's been a total game changer. Schedule a free initial consultation at staffy.cc, that's stafi.cc, and use the code RUBY, RUBY, for $500 off.
Well, so we're getting closer to the end, and I would love to ask you a few really fun fact questions. So what is your favorite board game?
I don't know if I have a board game, but I like to play cards and silly games. Like I remember playing like Goldfish and Rummy and Uno. Like I still like playing all of those type of things. And so I would say it's not the board game that was fun to me or favorite to me. I like playing card games. I don't know why, but
which card game? That's fine. Card games are included in the board games.
Yeah, okay, so, that's fine. Yeah. So Rummy, like I used to play a lot of that. So I like playing card games in there and stuff. So
Oh,
yeah, I don't
awesome.
know poker yet. So my younger son seems to be a good poker player all of a sudden, and so now I'm like asking him to teach me how to play that.
Wait, how old is he?
18, and
Oh,
his
okay.
little friends, these 18-year-old kids. They're like, but they have these poker games, now.
Oh, yeah.
There's real money. Like, I mean, it's like $2 to come in
Uh-huh.
and bet in, whatever it is, the lingo is, But yeah, like, so I'm like, okay, I need to learn a little bit about this and stuff. But I do enjoy card games a lot. So
Oh,
it's to me,
yeah. We
just
got into poker during the pandemic, and my kids became like little sharks. It was sort of funny.
yeah, 18-year-olds like spilling words and lingo. And I'm like, what?
Wait for the river.
So, yeah, it's fun for me.
What would you consider your superpower?
My superpower is patience with my 18
Oh, okay. Good.
Generally, I would say my patience is my superpower. I am not generally a high or low person, and I don't. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm like don't stress. I do, but in the things that have happened to me and in my journeys and stuff, I think I'm at a place of like, is somebody gonna die over this? Is somebody gonna
Mhm.
like? It's the world gonna.
Yeah, I get you. I think about that too. Like, let's just put things in perspective,
I'm always
Yeah.
like that with the kids. Like, my kid got into an accident, and my first thing, are you okay? He goes,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I'm fine. I said, he's like, Mama. I said, it's okay. Nobody died. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
It's just a car. It's okay. And so they're very surprised with how calm I stay. And I've just learned over years that's what you got. And that's how you have to be with your clients too, right? That's what they want. They want that patience and the calmness. Because if you're
Mhm.
freaking out, if you're doing this, what are you going to do to your client? So I always come in with that steady. And so that's one of my superpowers. I just don't, I don't lose my patience unless it's definitely the only person who really, I always tell everybody, can really push my buttons is my 18-year-old. Because, he's my second born children. They're sassy mouths and stuff like that.
I have one
Oh,
of those too. Yeah.
oh, I call him Thug Baby when he was baby, Thug Baby. There's 6 years difference between him and the older one. He used to like try to
Oh.
beat up the older one. He's 2, and the other one is like 8. But other than that, yeah, I think that's kind of my superpower, my patience.
Well, what would you consider a habit that contributes to your success?
Patience.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely my communication. I'm and that which is led by empathy for who I serve. I think I'm empathetic towards my clients in every capacity, whether it's the beneficiary, whether it's my corporate client who at the end it's a company, but you have people inside of that company. So I think, I always communicate. I'm very honest as much as I can be. I'm not here to take anybody's money for no reason. So I think like my communication led by empathy, I would say is the habit that has made me successful in life.
Well, it sounds like it, and those are some really great qualities to have in this practice area, and as a lawyer and leader in your community. What would you say is a favorite book or podcast you'd recommend to our listeners?
Well, obviously this podcast, like, let's go.
Well, we appreciate that, and we know it's a given. But anyway, another one. No.
I'm a big biography buff.
Okay.
I like to read biographies of people, and I always tell people like when I was in 5th or 6th grade, I read a biography of Lincoln, and I remember this and very clearly, and I remember that he was a lawyer, and how he rose and all of that kind of stuff, and I can tell you that started the little thought in my head about being a lawyer,
Wow.
biography to this. And it was a simple little biography, but it was so interesting to me in like 5th grade, but I love biographies. I like to know. and love to see the journey people have been on, to see how they got to there. What were the decisions? Who were the players in that life of theirs? It's very interesting what makes someone who they are and what defines them and what shapes them. So I always love to read about things like that, biography. And then second is politics. I love politics. I love political books and stuff like that. So again, it's usually it's the truth of what is happening when behind the scenes of the election or something like that. But yeah, those are my things I like to read.
I love that about the biographies, because I've read a handful of them, but I'll sort of go into different genres, from the business books to like self-help care, whatever. I don't know what it's called, like improvement. And then like I have the biographies, and when I listen to them on Audible, it sounds like I'm just listening to a movie in a way. It's really cool. But it pieces together everything to sort of like, oh, that's why they did that. And anyway, that's cool. Good reminder to go back to biographies. I've been on a financial book kick, so I think I'm almost done with that. How can people find you and connect on LinkedIn, the law firm website? Let us know how we can find you. Stay connected.
You can find me. The law firm's name is A.Y. Strauss. We have our offices in New Jersey and New York. The website is www.aystrauss.com. My email is nair@aystrauss.com. You can go to the website. You can catch me. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm there. I post, not a lot, but I'm strategic in my posting. But you can catch me. You can find me. I always tell people, Google me, you'll find me and stuff. Like, it's not difficult to catch me. And you can DM me on LinkedIn. I generally, unless you are pitching a product, which Ruby, everybody does that on LinkedIn now, gets your DMs. I generally try to be responsive and stuff like that. So you can always catch me.
Well, and I'm grateful that you saw my post, or somebody saw it and told you about it. And you,
I saw it.
I'm really grateful. Awesome, thank you, and again for teaching or speaking to my students. Well, Dini, it's been great having you. I loved hearing about your more of your origin story, and I know there's more to that, but it's like a mini biography, I guess you could say. And then how it relates to what your practice and how you show up every day, really genuinely caring about your clients and remembering that everyone has a story and where they came from, and that you continuously remember that importance in everything you do and everyone you represent. So thanks for telling us more about the GC and like how to be better in that practice and interacting with our clients and being more strategic and proactive. And it's a pleasure having you. And thanks everyone for listening. And we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Power Up Your Practice. I'm Ruby Powers, and it's been a pleasure sharing this time with you. We love your reviews, so if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us one and share this podcast with someone else so that they can know what you've been learning on our show. And make sure to check out the Power Up Your Practice book. It's available in paperback and Kindle on Amazon. It's packed with 25 chapters of strategies to grow and streamline your firm. And we also have the free Power Hub community on School to keep the conversation going in between the episodes. So make sure to keep powering up your practice, and we'll see you next time.